This week I met with the Power BI user group and we talked about how we could build out a world-class center of excellence. This is an edited version of the recording where I hone in on the key content and questions that were asked if you're building out a Power BI community or if you're trying to improve your Power BI community. Greg, thank you very much for the introduction. I've been working in Power BI for a real long time. I think it's actually close to 10 years. Even before it was really Power BI, where it was just Power Query, Power View, what the heck was it even called? The whole SharePoint thing and stuff. All this stuff I've been doing inside Power BI, I had been doing internally at very large organizations. Like right now, I work at Rockwell Automation, the analytics architect. And actually, I'm going to go over it into my slide deck here. So let's cut over to this. All right. I'm going to give my background, but today I'm going to cover and talk about what does it take to build out a world-class Power BI Center of Excellence. All right. I honestly think this is one of the most important pieces in having a successful deployment of Power BI in any organization is the community that you foster and build inside your companies. So I think this is one of the most important keys. So that's why I talk about it. I'm actually going to be presenting about this virtually now at MBAS. So you're kind of getting a preview of this. Like I said, I've kind of been working in large organizations for a very long time. Previously, for about 5 years or so now, or a little more, very large organizations like Northwestern Mutual. I ran and operated their Power BI platform, where we had like nearly 30,000 consumers of our Power BI reports. We had row-level security from, like the janitor all the way up to the CEO of the organization. That everyone got to see everything they were supposed to and nothing more. It was really great. I've recently transitioned over to Rockwell Automation. It was in that transition over to Rockwell where I started to build out that same center of excellence at Rockwell that some people at Microsoft kind of pointed out, like, hey, if you would just do this externally facing, you would be a shoo-in for the MVP award. So that's what I did. It was a noted effort in I think it was like the August timeframe where I started transition all of that work that I would do internally at these organizations. I started to put them out on Kratos BI and make them available for the public. And I was fortunate enough last month I got my Microsoft Data Platform MVP. So very excited about that. I've also been for the last 4 years, I believe, a member of the Power BI Client Advisory Board. If you're not familiar with that, what the Microsoft Power BI Client Advisory team does is twice a month they have basically meetings where they bring out new features that they're looking at rolling out in the next 12 to 24 months to the largest enterprise clients around the globe. They present that to us. They run through these features and what they're talking about. They get their feedback on, like, hey, if you do A, you're going to cause all these problems. We really need you to do B, right? For example, like having AD groups Azure AD groups to be able to share content. And in fact, anything that you look at in Power BI with Azure Active Directory integration was because we insisted that was a key feature that they incorporate inside of Power BI. Because it was on the roadmap, but they were just, not really getting to it. It was the client advisory team client advisory board that hammered that home. Additionally, the big feature that we're going to be rolling out in August is something I've been working on with that team, which is the composite models, allowing you to have an enterprise golden data set and then allow people to attach report level tables onto that. That one's going to be a huge thing. It's been something we've been working on for a real long time, so I'm very excited about rolling that out. Okay, as I said, I'm a member. I create KratosBI.com to share with everyone all the stuff that I do. So please go out, check that out. I am just an employee. I'm not a consultant or anything like that. So I just do this because I love it. If you want to support the stuff that I'm doing, go out, buy me a coffee. I'll send you some stickers and stuff. So some little plugs there. But I'll try to keep light on that. But I do have several different degrees. Got my master's, I've got a BA, and I've got several associate's degrees because it's less expensive to get an associate degree than pay a student loan. So I did that for a while. I don't need to do that anymore. All right. So we're going to be talking about today. We're going to get into it. We're going to talk about first what types of trainings or a training mindset that I want you guys to start thinking about and having anytime that you're interacting with people inside your organization. And we're going to talk about what that means to go from like training into that mastery phase. We're going to talk about why it's important for you to understand your organization and the type of Power BI deployment that you have inside the organization. We're going to talk about the importance of regular touch points, why you need to be looking at focusing on enablement, and then the importance of connecting people with partners. Okay? Well, frankly, so if you do have questions or whatnot, do put it in chat. All right, let's get to it. I like to look at training and helping people reach that level of mastery through two different paradigms: the S-curve of mastery and the concept see, do, teach. Now, the S-curve of mastery. Let's change this. The S-curve of mastery talks about how people start to grow and learn along this kind of S-curve, right? When you start learning any new thing, you start out sucking. Everyone sucks when you're learning something new. Like, it's really confusing, and the amount of time you spend in that lower portion, that suck phase, like it could be a short time where all of a sudden, it could be a short time, or you can rapidly start to understand what's going on, and that's when you start to encounter this hyper growth of understanding and learning. That like just shoots you up knowledge-wise and gets you into that mastery cycle. That is a super important concept because there are so many different aspects inside of Power BI that people have to begin to just understand or comprehend, that they have to think about it, that you have to be helping people through different phases of this S-curve, right? Like, you may have some data wonks that are they have mastered the data side of the house. They've mastered extracting data, transforming that side of the world, but they know very little about the visualization or making something or telling a data story, right? Or even understanding what's going on in the business. Vice versa, you may have people that really know the business and know the story they want to tell, but they don't know how to get the data or use the data. So you're constantly going to be encountering people and helping people reach that hyper growth point so that they can begin to take over. Now, in order to do this, I highly recommend we focus in on a 3-phase approach. It's one of the things that I key in all the time inside of the Power Hours, which we're going to be touching on in a little bit. It's the see, do, teach mentality. In see, do, teach, it's really simple. This goes back I think this goes back 3,000 years or something like that. This is how the first doctors learned how to remove tonsils from people with sticks and stones. They literally removed people's tonsils with a set of sticks and some stones. And that was the first surgery. And this is how they learned how they taught the next generation of doctors, right? So the key is you watch someone do that until you gain a degree of comfort with the new task. Then you take over and you perform that new task yourself, hopefully with some supervision or someone watching what you're doing or providing some guidance, especially if you're performing surgery for the first time. But you actually go in and you do it. You get your hands in there. You build out that dashboard. You get that done yourself. And then the last phase, when we really want to focus in on mastery, that's when we're talking about teaching what you've learned to someone else. And this concept here of see, do, teach is what drives and powers these centers of excellence, is because you have new people that are coming in all the time that are starting to see what's going on. You want to enable people to like we were talking about, like, hey, if you want to show something that you're doing in, or I'm sorry, yeah, people coming on, they can see what you're doing, then you go back and you take what you learned and you saw, you do this yourself inside your organizations until you come up with something that's really great and unique that you want to show off. That's awesome. Bring that back into either your center of excellence or come back to the Power BI user group and present that and share that with people. Okay. These two concepts are something that I find incredibly important to just kind of like keep in my head anytime I'm engaging with people and working with them, because I know that while I may spend my entire life working on Power BI and data and like watching every single update that comes out, and like every morning on the elliptical, all I do is I read through blogs, read through different medias, or watch different videos to keep up on everything. That's something that's unrealistic for everyone else. So I just keep this in mind as I'm working on different things. All right. This comes a lot out of the adoption framework that Microsoft has published for Power BI, but it's really important as you work inside your organizations and start to build out your center of excellence. You understand your organizations and you adjust your strategies and your approaches that for what makes sense for the company you're in, right? When I was at Northwestern Mutual, we had a specific model and a way of sharing information that was really great for Northwestern Mutual. When I went over to Rockwell, while some of those things applied, not everything applied. So I had to shift what I was doing and the way I looked at approaches to fit the organization that I was in, because the way the two different companies worked and operated was different, and that's going to be okay. Realistically, yesterday I was actually speaking to Matthew Roach. If you've not met him before, Matthew Roach is one of the principal program managers for Power BI. He's also Dr. Data Flow. He is the guy that knows all about the data flows and stuff. He says, honestly, there's almost no wrong way to build out a Power BI community. It's just wrong ways for different situations and different companies. So as we talk through these different things, keep in mind how this would work for your company and might not work in others, right? So a big key is understanding, and the first thing that I talk about here is knowing who your executive sponsor is, knowing who's driving it, why is this important to the organization, understanding that individual or group of people, if it's a group of people, why it is that they've introduced Power BI inside your organizations, what return they're looking to get on their investment, and then figure out how you can best address the technical issues and plan out how you're going to execute on those. Okay. This is the next big one that I think it's really important to understand about your organization, is to know how you're using Power BI. And there's really kind of three different delivery approaches that exist. There's the business-led self-service BI, where everyone in the business kind of just does whatever they want. The business owns everything. That can be really enabling, but you can run into some challenges when all of a sudden, accounting came up with these numbers, finance came up with these numbers, IT came up with these different numbers, and right now you run into all sorts of challenges and discrepancies in your data, so you run into issues there. The other side of the model, and this is the traditional BI strategy, was the corporate BI strategy, where the concept was thou shalt not to the business. That was wholly owned by IT. Businesses would submit in requests. We would like to get this report. We'd like to get this dashboard. We'd like to have these different features delivered. IT would work on them, deliver them to the business units at some point in time. The challenge there, while that was really strong and solid, is that SLA's time to delivery was often exorbitant and really long, and it didn't give businesses the ability to adapt to the ever-changing landscape of technology. For example, COVID-19, that just came up, and if we were in 100% get it in the backlog for IT to work on, no one would be able to get any COVID-19 reporting out, because Well, our IT backlog is backed up 36 months or something like that, right? Um, and the better approach, and I think this is one that a lot of people are moving to, is that blended approach where the business has some capabilities for the front end consumption for building out those reports, and IT takes on the ownership of building out the back end, right? Building out the content that goes or the data that feeds it, that creates that golden data set or those golden tables or that golden data warehouse that the business users are then accessing and leveraging, right? Understanding how in your organization this is intended to work is really key, right? Because how it works in my company or in Greg's or in anyone else's company, it's going to be different, and you need to make sure that you're designing for that, right? The key thing that Matthew Roach wanted me to pass on to you, and I fully agree, is that if you want to be successful inside this model, the biggest key is you establish clear boundaries and SLAs as to who does what. I think the understanding is the degree of acceptability for IT is everything that is kind of like here and above goes to IT, and everything that's, and I'm kind of like going through the middle of this one, right? Everything that's here and below is the responsibility of the business units, right? Understanding that, like, hey, you're going to have these different degrees of personal reporting. Hey, a guy just wants to understand what's happening with his time or on his project or the errors that his system is generating, right? To a project or department, and then you start to bleed into that whole enterprise framework, right? And then also make sure you understand who your champions are, because there's going to be tons of people inside your organizations. In fact, probably everyone on this phone call who's going to be considered the Power BI champion inside your company, who's going to be excited, who's going to be engaged and help move these things forward. You want to make sure that you're partnering with them. You're letting them help out and advance the work that they're doing. Let them show what they're finding inside the Power BI tool. One of the biggest things I learned a long time ago was that I do not know everything about Power BI, nor do I know everything about business, nor do I know everything about any topic out there, right? It's always important to gather feedback, hear what other people are doing, see the new ways that they're working with stuff. And that's a real benefit to you and your community. So there's some kind of tips. Now, these are all slides out of the Power BI adoption framework. I do have those inside the slide deck. I'll send those along for you so you guys can check them out. When we talk about setting up a Power BI Center of Excellence, the biggest thing that I think it's important to do is you figure out how you establish regular touch points with people. Like how there's the Green Bay Power BI user group that goes out and we're meeting and we're talking about these things. It can be really important inside your organization to have a similar meeting. Now, if it's just you and one other person, well, maybe that's not as big of a deal. But if you're in a larger company, connecting the various people that are working inside of Power BI on a semi-regular, on a monthly basis is really important. Helps people remain aligned on new features, things that are going on inside the platform. If you've purchased Power BI Premium and you're starting to use those dedicated resources and starting to use the AI ML capabilities that are out there, maybe you will even want to coordinate and talk about performance challenges, or how do you manage your budget, your processing budget, right? A lot of those things are really important to include inside your internal monthly user group. And if you're building this out, the next big thing that I talk about a lot, and this is a big thing that we kicked off at Rockwell in October of last year, which is our Power Hours. Our Power Hours is weekly. We hold them from 8 to 10. And this is where we allow users and developers to come in, bring their Power BI reports in, ask questions, and we sit through and we help them figure out what their issues are. I saw you have Marcus Verdu speaking next month at your Power BI user group. Marcus has been attending our Power Hours on a regular basis, helping people answer our questions because we're close partners with Skyline. But people are going to have constant questions on, like, how do you do X inside of Power BI? And it's really simple to point people to stuff and share or help them fix the issues that they have. But if you're not careful, engaging with them on whenever a question may come up is just going to destroy your time. You're gonna rapidly get to the point that people are contacting you all day, every day, asking you for, how do I fix this? How do I do that? And being able to point to a specific office hours, basically, and say, hey, come join us during power hours. We'll sit down, you can pull up your laptop, you can show us what you're working on, and we can start to walk through how we would fix it or what we would do to resolve those issues for you. This process can be incredibly helpful for people and helpful for you, because I cannot tell you how often we have people coming in who are on that lower part of the S-curve of mastery, and they just have some real basic questions, right? And they've watched videos and they've read blogs and they've tried to figure it out, but they're just not getting it. You're able to answer it inside of 30 seconds. They walk out after that period of time. They've fixed whatever their issue was. Also gives people inside your community to begin to shine, right? To find those people that are inside your organization that are jumping on Power BI or Power Apps or Power Automate, to see what they're doing and uncover incredible work that they're doing. We have a gentleman, Brian, young guy. He came into Power Hours and someone had a question about Power Automate, and he showed us how he automated the work of an entire department, basically, over the course of the last 3 months using Power Automate. Was blown away and no idea who this guy was. Now he's a rock star, and it's doing great for his career, and he's able to help people out and show people how to do things. Again, because they're all coming to Power Hours, his time is free, and his managers are happy that he's participating in the Power Hours and helping people out instead of having people randomly come and ask him questions throughout the week. It's a huge win-win. And then the final thing that I think is really important to try to do is to try and raise that level of excitement and contact points with the people inside your organizations, kind of an ongoing and a constant basis, right? As new things come out, post them, share them with your group, share them with your company, talk about why this is important. And if you do it on a semi-regular basis, it keeps people engaged, it keeps people excited about the stuff that's going on. And I can't tell you how often I get people reach out to me and say, hey, when did that feature come along? I needed that. I looked for that 6 months ago, I couldn't find it. I'm like, oh no, it's been in there for however long. They just didn't have Power Hours to come and take a look at right at the time, or whatever it is. They just missed it. And having that little trickle feed inside that organization is incredibly helpful. And you don't have to write big long blog posts, right? You just be, hey, here's the latest Guy in the Cube video on single sign-on for Gateway. We're in the process of killing Skype and moving everything onto Teams, so we're very excited about that. We have a Teams channel where we have a Teams meeting that's our general Power BI user group that everyone calls in and joins into that one space. And typically we try to have one key person, either myself or one of my peers, host and organize and run that one main key channel. But then we have specific channels inside of that team site for Power Apps, Power Automate, Power BI. So when people come in and ask questions, either we can't answer inside the really it's a 5-10 minute window we try to answer questions in the main channel. If we can't answer it inside that main channel, we have them just hop into the other channel, start an immediate meeting, and then run through it there. And then people who are interested or who have questions around these different topics, when they hear about it, they'll actually step out of the general meeting and step into that other meeting and hear about how do you deal with what was the last one? How do you deal with an error on automating emails out to Teams or something like that? We do have, because we're a global company, we do it Fridays from 8 to 10. That's a little late for our Europe and Asia, but it kind of works, and they're kind of used to working those hours. But we do have a physical room that people can come inside to and can talk with us and show us things. The biggest thing is, and we always talk about it, that's why I started with the Scurve of Mastery and the whole See Do Teach, is like, you gotta encourage people who have even basic questions. Come in and ask those basic questions. Even if I'm not the one who's going to answer it, that's when those other people inside the team are able to step forward and show people how to do stuff. Also, with your general channel, you can have a channel for your daily updates and what's going on inside the Power BI community. And if you just post all of these links that I'm talking about here into that channel, it doesn't become overwhelming, and people can subscribe or not subscribe, and you're not spamming people. But people understand it's one place they can go to get a whole bunch of Power BI information. Now, this is Microsoft's official slide on how to do this. Teams, Yammer, SharePoint, emails. So again, the whole help, support, self-service, answer questions, run lunch and learns. Really, all of these things do fit into our the power hours I was talking about. You can also do lunch and learns. We kind of do that with our Power BI user group that we do once a month. Is we'll take people out and we'll show different highlights on how to do different things inside that user group. For example, I don't know if anyone saw the Narrative Sciences custom visual that was out there. It was free for a while, but now you have to purchase it. 100% worth it. Go buy it. It's the coolest thing in the world. It turns data into USA Today news article on that data. It is incredibly cool, and frankly, they don't charge enough for it. I hope they don't hear that, because I don't want to pay more than what I am. But it is very cool and radically transforms what you're doing. The biggest thing, especially when we're talking about that dual deployment model for a business, where you have IT that does data, and you have the business users that are out there working on a self-service framework. The biggest key is figuring out how you can help people help themselves, right? The easier you can make things for people, number one, the more they'll adapt, the more they'll start using the stuff, the more that they'll get engaged. The easier you can make it, the better it is, right? So one of the things we do at Rockwell is we focus in on how do we bring in any and all of the new features that become available inside the Power Platform, and then make them available across the organization. I'm going to call out one thing. I don't know if Microsoft will get me in trouble for this, but I don't care. I don't work for them. Some of this stuff that Microsoft rolls out isn't really ready for prime time, right? So the Power BI team has done a real good job of calling things in preview for a while to give people used to it before they turn on and make it generally available. But I've said for a long time that Microsoft starts off at suck, right? They get stuff out, just like us in the whole Scurve of Mastery thing, right? Microsoft starts with features that kind of suck, not always, but they start off at suck. They get it out there, they get feedback, they hear what you're doing, and then a version or two later, it becomes okay, right? Now, in the past world, that used to take 2 or 3 years between the different versions, of SQL Server, right? There wasn't a new version of SQL Server every year, so that took a long time to go from this kind of sucks to okay to and then the next level is this is an enterprise grade solution and application, right? So you have to remember that the products that are being rolled out kind of go through that different life cycle, right? So as you start to share things inside your organization, it really behooves you to be very mindful of that in determining when something is ready to go out to your company, right? Honestly, before you release it, play with it, kick it hard, make it fail, make it crash, understand what the loads are on it, understand what it's going to take to troubleshoot it, to fix it, to resolve any issues, and make sure that you're comfortable with that level of risk before you release it. That's why we maintain this kind of chart of all the features that are available inside of Power BI into the organization. We kind of call out new features when they become available, and they're at least they're out of that suck phase and they're into the like, okay, you know, this will work phase, and become ready, right? Like data flows was introduced well over a year ago. It wasn't until like September of last year that data flows had enough features in place that kind of made it out of that suck category and into that okay category, right? So we hadn't rolled out Power BI data flows until that point in time, right? That's why I keep a diagram like this that highlights all the features that are out there, calling things out, talking with people inside our Power Hours about these new features that are available, and especially when it comes to the whole authoring side, like this stuff in here. I can't tell you how many times we have people building out Power BI reports that are paginated reports, right? It's like, hey, I'm building out something that generates Excel files. Okay, if that's truly what you need to do, and I'm not sure it's truly what you need to do, but okay, if that's what you know, the business is insisting that you build out these Excel files and Excel files extractor. Holy cow, that's not Power BI is not good at that. It's not strength. That's not what Power BI is designed to do. That's what paginated reports is designed to do, right? Get Power BI paginated reports and do your export there. Conversely, I've been working with our finance team for a long time. They're like, wow, we really love Power BI for the visuals, but we want to do some like custom adding in of stuff. We want to do some formatting and mashing together. And the reality was they wanted to use Analyze in Excel, right? They wanted to use the Excel version of the solution, and that's fine. It's all part of this holistic environment and holistic solution. So we enabled them. We showed them how they could do it. They went from like, I don't know how we're gonna make this work, to like, this is incredible. This is gonna change the way we do business. So we're very excited about that. Rockwell has been for like forever has been a diehard Microsoft shop. Northwestern Mutual, when I started at Northwestern Mutual, they actually were a Tableau shop who was transitioning over to a Power BI shop. And when I left, I think there was still 60 or 70 licenses of Tableau and 5,000 licenses of Power BI. We tried to focus our Power Hours on how people can use the tools that exist inside of Power BI or the entire MSBI stack, but that might be inclusive of how can the people in Tableau use the data that's in Power BI, right? Or use the data that's in analysis services. So those people at Northwestern Mutual who, hey, they love Tableau, and God bless, they can, that's fine, right? Like I've been on 3 BI tool selection committees that chose Tableau, and we rolled that out. I totally get it. But we brought them in, and they came into our Hours, and we showed them how they could use the data that existed inside the analysis services or inside of Power BI, how they could use that and do that same work inside of Tableau. Then we also nudged them along and to show them how they could natively do the same thing that they were doing inside of Power BI, and why they may want to consider switching over. And yes. All right, and that's exactly where we're going to be going into the resources that I provide out on Kratos BI. You make it as easy as humanly possible to get people up and running and making something look really freaking great, because people are nervous going in and playing with it, and there's a lot in there. Like I think you said there's 253 custom visuals that are available in Power BI. There's something like 300 potential data sources that you could do in Power. I mean, the numbers and the amount of information you could attempt to try to learn to onboard someone is really challenging. So I am a full believer in KISS. Keep it as simple as you can, right? And that's why I really talk about how can you prepare someone a custom theme so that people can import that theme and it just, all their reports look just great. They don't have to worry about that. We talk about building out a golden data set or golden data sets that those users can go in and just start to consume and use that information without having to know how to do joins or write decks or do all of these other things, right? Provide people with digital resources. I also think it's really important to build out a sample app that calls out and shows people how to use the different features that are available inside of Power BI. And then have that team site that you have for your COE. Encourage people to ask questions into that team site and other people to answer them. I don't know if you have rewards programs inside your company or not, but I've gone out of my way to make sure that people who are both asking questions and answering questions get rewarded for that engagement. That's really important. But I have some resources out on Kratos BI. These are the resources that basically I've been using at Northwestern Mutual. I've modified them to use at Rockwell. I've built them myself for external use, and that really does start with these different phases. Out on KratosBI.com, one of the things I think it's important is to understand all of the great work that is done out there, and that's why I've created this website, is to highlight all of the good work that's done by people all across the world, right? So we call out different data gods of each week to highlight the features and the things that they do, so that people who are new to the tool know that there's tons of resources out there. Like Mike at Power BI Tips. Mike's a local resource. He's in Wisconsin here. He's a real great, nice guy. He's super easy to talk to. In fact, all of these people are. I mean, if you watch Guy in the Cube, you know Patrick. Alice, I didn't know who Alice was until like 3 months ago, but she's in New Zealand. She's doing incredible stuff, right? I've got a whole list of different data gods that are out there about different people that you can go out and follow, check out the work that they're doing. This is, I'll be adding, I think, 10 more in the next round. But when you talk about getting started with Power BI, and now that I'm a MVP, I have some free resources, so I'll be sharing those more broadly, because my Azure wallet is now runneth over, so I'm kind of excited about that. But let's see here. But the resources that I have out on KratosBI.com basically helps people get up and running and learn how to use Power BI, right? Like a big one that I use, frankly, I use this more than I use any of the enterprise data sets at any of the companies, which is my Kratos BI data set, which is just AdventureWorks. It's an AdventureWorks model that you can go in and use. And I'm just going to run through a couple of these so you can kind of see them before we move on to the other stuff. But this is Kratos BI data. You can go in and you can see all of the different tables all joined together inside of here, and you can begin to play and understand how to use Power BI on the front end. You can build out new dashboards, you can test out new visuals, you can play with understanding how the new interactions work, how to turning these different things off. Every time there's a monthly update, I fire this guy up, save a copy, call it March update, and then I go in and I test out all this stuff, right? I test it while I'm watching their videos. So, that 46-minute video they'll release, it takes me 55 minutes or so to get through it, because I test out each of the features, right? Makes this type of a data set makes that super easy to test that out. This also, nice stupid picture here. We also have several different perspectives there in here to allow you to hone in and understand how you can connect in and see a smaller slice of the model, or even a much smaller slice of the model, and understand how this works. Help people understand how to start building out that first tabular model. Because if you're just getting it started, holy cow, no, right? You can't do this. You won't figure this out. I totally get it. This is way too much for that average business user. This is too much, right? Even this might seem like it's a lot, but have people, if you're truly getting them started, one of the big things that I do is I give them a theme, started, show them how to create visuals using a model that's already built, right? That can really help people become familiar with the tool, get used to it. And then the next thing is use the Kratos BI visuals to help you build out your own custom theme for your own company, right? Figure out what themes make sense, how it looks good. I've got a blog post and a video on how to use this to build out your own custom Power BI theme, making sure that everything you've added in looks right, and then a sample report where you can import that theme into, verify that what you built in the other visual, that theme that you built and extracted, looks good in a common report, right? Looks good as you start to navigate through it, as you build in different interactions, tell that it looks right, that it's producing like the type of results you'd want to see. So I kind of went through, as we were talking through this, I talked about the 3 different things and how I would make these available inside my organization, and why, and how I'd encourage people to use these different things. The last resource that I do make available, this is some digital content that I do make available, which is, this is a background generating Power BI PowerPoint, right? So I just leverage this to build out the backgrounds in my custom dashboards. This helps ensure that they're performant. This makes sure that it runs right. It has a nice layout. You got that nice like shadow effect going into it. It just makes it look really great. It's just using PowerPoint, so it's something that people are really familiar with. It's real easy to use, and if you provide them this PowerPoint deck, they see how easy it is. Like, oh, I can do something with our corporate logos following this template. Makes it really easy to do. Another item I don't have examples for, but if inside your organization you have common icons that you use, get those PNG files together, put them in a folder, and share them out on team sites, and tell people that, hey, this is our pie icon, this is our trend icon, this is our global icon, right? Make those available for them so they're not out there trying to hunt those things down and try to find them themselves. Okay. All right. And then the final thing that I do recommend is building out a sample app that people can go out and use and actually see inside the Power BI service how to use buttons, how to use navigation, how to build out your Power BI reports in your Power BI desktop with that forethought of how it's going to interact and work inside the Power BI service, right? So this is a screenshot of the sample app that we have for Rockwell. I am going to be building out, and now that I have like I said, an Azure budget I get to spend. I'm going to be building out a sample app, making that available through KratosBI.com for people so they can go in and understand the importance of a report template, or the different user profiles that you'd want to be designing for, how to manage a page layout, those types of things, right? And then the last piece when it comes to building out a strong community of excellence is making sure that you're helping facilitate those connections with people, to not just, well, to people inside your company, but also, those champions inside your company, but this Power BI user group. Encourage people to attend the Green Bay Power BI user group. You'd be surprised at how many people are willing to take a few hours to learn more about their craft, to get better at it, to just get some feedback from people. Encourage that. Encourage people to engage with your Microsoft reps. Engage with people on the Power BI team. You can, like if you're on LinkedIn, if you're on Twitter, like they're all hyper active out there, and like frankly, they're all really nice people. Like you just go and ask Adam Saxon a question, Adam's gonna answer you. I can't tell you how many times I've seen him or Patrick or Josh Kaplan or any of those guys just respond and answer to random people. Now, they're busy people, they got a lot of stuff going on, but they do a lot of, just ad hoc answered questions. And also engage MVPs. Like, I get questions like 2-3 times a day from just random people online. And I'm always happy to send them, even if it's I'm not really sure about that one, I'd look at this and this, right? At least try and give people some direction as to where they can go for a resolution, right? And then don't forget about all of the partners that exist out there. I'm a big fan of Skyline, SPR, but they're, those are just the first 2 that jump to the top of my head. If you're a partner of mine and I'm forgetting you, I apologize. But like, sometimes asks are too big, right? Like, I had a secretary who was asked by her boss to build out a reporting platform that is like the work of 20 people for like 12 months. He thought she was going to crank it out by the end of the week. No, not going to happen. No matter how much you want her to do that, she's not. That's too much for her, right? Help people understand when they should engage with partners and connect them with those partners, right? You have your contacts. You know who you as an organization trust, who you have agreements in place with, and because onboarding a vendor at some places can be like a 6, 12, 24-month process. You don't want to necessarily go down that path, have people always going down these crazy paths. Help them get connected to the people that you're doing business with, right? And then also make sure that they understand, especially on the Microsoft and partners side, there's going to be a cost to it, right? Thank you for joining me today as we went through how to create a world-class Power BI Center of Excellence. I hope you enjoyed the content. Remember to like and subscribe if you want to be notified every time I post a new video. And if you're looking to support me more, remember you can still go out to kratosbi.com, buy me a coffee. If you do that, we'll send you some custom swag. Me, Minsk, and Boo will go out and we'll send you some of these stickers, and I've even got these new magnets and stuff together. So got a lot of content that we'll be sharing out to people who are out supporting the community. And we have something new for the people that have been asking. We're adopting a value for value way of supporting the channel. So if you find this content exceedingly valuable and you think it's worth $10, great. Go out to the PayPal link, donate $10. If you think it's worth $50, go donate $50. If you think it's worth $5,000, go donate $5,000. I'm happy to take your money. If you find this content to be valuable, we're going to be introducing some different tiers that I've started to kind of shape out. And if you have suggestions for the levels of tiers that we should have, happy to take that from you. Put those in the comments below, or if you have any questions about building out a world-class Center of Excellence, please leave those in the comments below. Happy to answer your questions. So thank you very much for your time. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.